guys, welcome to the Treasury Update Podcast Coffee Break Session, the show where we cover foundational Treasury topics and questions in about the same amount of time it takes you to drink your coffee. This is your host, Alexa, and I'm joined today with Craig Jeffery, Managing Partner of Strategic Treasure. Welcome back, Craig.
Hi, Alexa.
Today, we're going to kind of shift back into the technology topics by covering what is API. So do you maybe just want to start us off and answer that question for us, Craig?
Sure. An API stands for Application Programming Interface. It's a small program that does functions. Maybe that's the shortest way of saying it. And a lot of people will use an API today in Treasury and Finance for connecting from one system to another, let's say, to pull down bank balances or transactions as they're happening through their bank account. So, the open APIs of today allow that as well as to initiate payments.
I know you just gave a couple of examples of when API is used, but do you have any other examples or any other answers to when API is used?
Yeah, so APIs have been around for I think at least 40 years in different states and versions. As we look back towards kind of the more modern style APIs, they began around 20 or so years ago. But they've even developed since then, and so we're looking more at the current API. So let me give you a couple examples for APIs. Maybe some years ago there would be web services, which is a program that supports the use of APIs to get data in and out of usually like SaaS systems, to pull data out of these databases that hold and house multiple tenants. So it's a program you'd run on your site to pull data out, and then you'd usually use another system or process to push that into an internal system or to make it available for another web services routine or service to pull that into another software as a service activity. But APIs really have dominated of late or are growing extremely rapidly, largely due to banking requirements and banking directions to make it available. Europe's PSD2 required banks to support that in the Euro region, and North America and most of the rest of the world. The leading banks are all developing these abilities to more easily access your information in a secure manner or to execute transactions.
Okay. So how is Treasury, or how can Treasury use an API?
So an API could be used to quickly validate payment information, confirm the name on an account. So that could be set up within your Treasury system, within any finance system you have to confirm that. It could be plugged into a payment hub to initiate a wire transfer or a low value payment. And it can be set up so that when you open up or when you go into your application, it essentially pings your account, pulls the most current balance information, or as transaction happens, it cycles through and gets that information and loads it into whatever database or system you're using.
Okay, I feel like that also kind of answers the next question, which are what are some of the benefits of API? So that's maybe Treasury validation and payments, or some of the reporting that's done. But are there any other benefits of API?
When you use open APIs, and I know this is a short discussion, but the idea of open APIs, open banking, open Treasury means that these are tools. There's a set of APIs that a bank, for example, or a company or a software provider can expose to others or make available so that you can use those APIs to exchange information, move transactions, update activities. So the benefits are it's a very simple setup process, especially where we are now with open APIs. It's extremely simple. Once you go, it's a very easy process as opposed to a file-based process where you might have to exchange keys, figure out the SFTP setup, test it, make sure it works. APIs are extremely quick at doing that. So that's a faster setup and it's highly secure.
So really that wraps up all of my questions for today. So I'll just give a quick overview of everything. So API is the application programming interface, and it's really a program that does functions or connecting the systems to one another. You said it's really been around for 40 years in many versions, so it's had an evolving life over the past 40 years. And it's really used in Treasury to quickly validate information or grab data for reporting. And you've said it's extremely quick and highly secure. So lots of benefits there. Is there anything else you wanted to cover or say about APIs?
Yeah, one more thing on that. We do a lot of surveys and on tech use and plans, and I think it's really interesting. And perhaps we can leave it in the show notes, where you can see how banks were much more in favor of APIs, thinking they were a bigger issue. Corporations, treasurers were much more skeptical, if you were. And then as we've gone forward, we've seen that the adoption of APIs in a 1-year period has outstripped what plans were for a 2-year period. So, the take-up of APIs is exceeding what the expectations were. Normally, people think they're going to do more with whatever the new tech is or the new initiative or control, and the adoption is lower than they state that it will be. This is one of a few areas where we've seen it significantly exceed what their expectations were.
Okay, that makes sense. And that's great that, APIs are growing so much, especially with their applications in Treasury. So I guess that wraps up today's episode. So thanks, Craig, for joining me today. And thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in. Make sure you join us every first and third Thursday of the month for a new episode. And if you have any questions, comments, or just want to connect with us, you can find us on LinkedIn. Thanks again, Craig.
Thank you.